The average time a thoroughbred spends in racing is relatively short. By far the majority of their lives are still to take place once they leave racing. If a horse has performed well or has good bloodlines, they invariably find their way onto stud farms to continue the breed. But the others, which are the greater population, face the reality of being sold or rehomed for the use in other equestrian disciplines. So whose responsibility is it to safeguard their welfare after racing? Their owners, trainers, or possibly the racing operators?
Michelle, the National Horse Racing Authority takes horse welfare extremely seriously. We need to accept that the wonderful creatures that are the hub of our sport need to be looked after not only during their athletic careers but also when they go into those retirement years.
We have an obligation towards the animal that serves us for a short period of his life in the racing circles, and we need to make sure that the life after racing is a good one.
We have a responsibility to our owners, and obviously to the industry, we have a responsibility to see that owners do the right thing, and we're here to guide them and help them. Try to ensure that owners do what they have to do to make sure that after racing that the horses are taken care of and they are found a good home or rehomed, as you mentioned.
During 2016, and in the face of growing welfare concerns, the NHA took decisive action regarding the retirement of horses from racing. In March of that year, Rule 41 was promulgated. Arnold, what does that rule cover?
It covers the responsibility aspects of who will ultimately be responsible once it retires from racing for the rest of its natural life. Now, we put in Rule 41.10 to safeguard the welfare of retired racehorses. Ultimately, it is the owner that is responsible, but there are a number of conditions to this particular rule. So the owner does have options. The owner can transfer the ownership of the horse to another owner, another racing jurisdiction or the same jurisdiction. He can transfer the ownership of the horse to a breeder or to the horse care unit, which is run under the auspices of the National Horse Trust, or another rehoming facility approved by the Chief Executive of the National Horse Racing Authority, together with a required fee, which does change from time to time. He has the option to have the horse humanely euthanized. However, this report of euthanasia must be reported to the National Horse Racing Authority.
Where warranted, what euthanasia does do is absolve owners of the possibility of being dragged into unpleasantries or legal wrangles if the horse ends up somewhere it shouldn't. But there's a but, and a very big but. It's a final decision, and some people do find it just unpalatable.
And another option is to dispose of the horse, whether by public auction or otherwise. However, if this takes place, the condition that is imposed is that a second career assessment form should be completed by a veterinary surgeon, the owner and the trainer, which would indicate if the horse is able to pursue an intended second career outside of horse racing.
The public perception is really that if a veterinarian helps to assess the suitability, that the owner could therefore be exonerated from further responsibility of this animal if it was responsibly homed. And that's really the reason this whole form and procedure was started. The normal veterinarian who knows the horse should do the second career assessment rather than a veterinarian who doesn't know the horse. Because assessing the horse for suitability is the mental status or the suitability from a mental point of view for the horse to do a certain discipline.
It's important that the person that might be taking over a horse is aware of any issues.
If the animal is not suited for any of these, then the euthanasia is suggested by a veterinarian or a certain sport only. And I think the veterinarian, especially the local veterinarian who does the normal work, is I think in a very good position to do that.
So we need to be transparent with the whole affair.
That to do that examination obviously now creates a fee where the veterinarian has to consult with the horse.
But it's not a full veterinary examination, rather a check, the cost of which is a regular consultation fee.
For a cost of a consultation, it also exonerates the present owner of future responsibility, and I think it's a very good thing that the NHR has done.
So how big is this issue, and what numbers of horses are we looking at? Whilst exact figures of thoroughbreds coming out of racing are not readily available, systems are in place to collect that information. The next best option is to look at the country's foal crop. Arnold, how many horses are bred each year?
There is indication that the numbers are dwindling. We went from a 2015 number of 3,188 foals to 2017, 2,924 foals were microchipped on the farms.
It's still a significant number of horses which need to be accounted for and reabsorbed either into breeding or equestrian sport in the country. Arnold, how long is the average thoroughbreds racing career in South Africa?
Most horses will race to the end of their 4-year-old career and some even into their 5-year-old career.
Whilst the resilient and stronger types do train on to 6 or 7 and even older, they are in the minority. At 5 years of age, many thoroughbreds still have another 15 years or more left to live. That's 3 times the average age a horse spends in racing. So second careers are vitally important. With the advent of purpose-bred competition horses, thoroughbreds coming out of racing can face stiff competition these days. No matter how much a yearling cost, its bloodlines or what it accomplished on the track, when it comes to assessing a home outside of racing or breeding, none of this matters. They need to be sound, of good temperament, and in some cases have good looks and movement. So how many thoroughbreds fit this bill?
Michelle, you know, a fair amount of fillies obviously do get retired to stud. So the balance, I think, a large amount. The suitability to various disciplines, it's so vast that they all have a place. Horses that are seriously have got temperament issues, they will come to the veterinary practice to be euthanized, and horses that are chronically lame, but it's not a large percentage. I think a really large percentage does still get rehomed. If I look at the spectrum of disciplines in the country, the thoroughbred is still the horse that is used in most disciplines.